Dad, I was thinking, what's a small decision that you've made that ended up having a big impact on your life?
Most likely, it's the time that I graduated from high school and decided that I was gonna play professional ball. I was playing semi-pro ball, but um, I got a letter from the government, and it said, "I'm going to be drafted." This was during the Vietnam era. Um, at the time, it seemed like a minor decision because all I wanted to do was go in the Air Force for 4 years and then get out. Um, But as you know, I went in the Air Force, spent 27 years, and after that, I spent 24 years as a government employee, as a civilian. But never would I imagine that minor decision to go into the Air Force was going to be a major player in my life. Um, when I did that, I wanted to be an X-ray radiologist or a combat photographer, and they put me in the fire department. And I also was an airborne firefighter, so I got to fly for 2 years, and I did the fire department for 7 years, and then I got out, became an industrial engineer, and the rest of the story is working in real estate, housing, and industrial engineering and engineering. So out of that minor decision that happened. In addition, um, I got my I got two bachelor's degrees and I have a master's degree. So I got all of my education while I was in the service um, through the GI Bill. So that minor decision actually shaped my whole life and the direction I was going. So it
When
was
you
kind
got that notification, did it say you have to join the Air Force, or did you have a choice of which branch of the military you could join?
well, if they had drafted me, they could put me in any service, but at that time it was just the Army and Marines. So there's no way I wanted to do that. I didn't even want to go to Vietnam, but I did what I had to do. But the Air Force was kind of the luxury service. So you didn't get put in the Air Force, you got put in the Army or the Marines. So I decided that if I went in early, what happened was we had taken a test, I think when I was a sophomore in high school. And I'd already got all that paperwork done. So when I found out that I was going to get drafted and I called a recruiter, there was a long line to get in the Air Force. And they said they didn't have an opening for maybe a year. I said, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and keep playing ball or, try to figure out what I was going to do. But recruiter called me one night and said, do you want to go? And you can go now. And that was actually a week later. And I said, absolutely. So within 2 days, I was on an airplane that went to West Virginia, Fairmont, West Virginia. And then from Fairmont, West Virginia, I went to Lackland Air Force Base, 26 August 1965. So it didn't take them long. And I just lucked out that somebody probably dropped out, couldn't make it or whatever. And they just called me and said, do you want to go? And I said, yep. And that began my career.
And what made you stay after the 4 years, after you said, okay, I'm only going to stay 4 years? Was it a series of, "Oh, I'll just extend it a little more," or did you say at some point, did you say, "Okay, I'm gonna be here for the long run?"
No, I didn't say I was going to be there for the longest run, but they offered me a bonus. I think it was like $10,000 to re-enlist and to go into another career field, which was a real estate cost management analyst. And I said, okay, I'll do that. But there was a school and I had to wait and all of that sort of stuff. Um, so it took me a little while to get into it. But because of the bonus, I said, you know what, I'll just stay another 4 years, then I'll get out. But like many people like me, it was a pretty good life. I had food on the table, money in the bank, had a nice car. The job wasn't overwhelming, and I liked what I was doing. So, I mean, the firefighting was dangerous, and I went on a lot of missions that was dangerous, and I just kind of liked it, but it wasn't what I really wanted to do. So it was fine. It was fulfilling at the moment, and I could do all of that. Plus, I had all the sports. So I played football, basketball, baseball, softball. I played every sport every season. And for example, when I was in Nevada, which was my first assignment, played football against a Navy team that was set up for charity. It was the Air Force against the Navy. And so I was the quarterback for the team, and it was tackle football, and I played, and it just kind of got me hooked that I could play sports 50% of the time that I was in the military. And of course, all the generals liked the guys on the teams. You got to fly around the different places. I saw so many places. I can't even remember them all. But sports was part of that. The second part of why I stayed in and why the Air Force was attractive to me, um, I was getting a lot of awards for being the outstanding airman of the month, of the quarter, of the year. I excelled in that area. And I also began my education and started out with just one class semester. And, I figured I can handle more than that. So I did two. And then when I got close to my degrees, I started doing three classes and working full time. But the Air Force allowed me to do that because of my duties, and um, they actually encouraged you to get your education. So I did that. I did apply for OTS, and I didn't get a official acceptance, but I got a letter saying that they would accept me, and I would have to go into the medical corps, the administrative area, and I had to wait for 6 months. So I got promoted in between all of that, and I was working at the command as the industrial engineer, as an enlisted person. Um, and so everything was just going right for me. Um, and they would let me do my education. So I continued to do 2 or 3 classes per semester, depending on what I needed. And I don't think if I was in the Army, I'm not sure they would have allowed that. In fact, they allowed me to go Operation Bootstrap, which your granddad did. Exact same thing. Um, the only thing was they let me go to school full time, but I had to come in at night and work the computer because I was the only guy that could work that command computer. So I agreed to that. So they let me go to school full time, and I was the first guy, the first airman overseas to go Operation Bootstrap, which is they let you go to school full time, but they normally send you to the school. But because I was in Europe, they just let me go to the classes there in Europe. Your granddad was the same way. He was the first guy that they let go on the base to go to school to get his degree versus going to a university. So that was pretty unique. But the Air Force was really, really good to me. And, it satisfied a lot of goals that I had without sacrificing my paycheck. So that was a pretty good deal. So Air Force was good. I was happy about it. I don't regret it. If I had to do it over again, I'd certainly do it over again. But I think all youngsters, younger people, should go in the military for at least 2 years, because when you get out of high school, you have no clue what you want to do. So it was good for me.